What's up, everybody? Welcome to Teen Life Group for today. I hope you guys are having a good day so far, and I hope that you will enjoy our time together in the book of Proverbs. We'll be continuing our study called Don't Be a Fool from the book of Proverbs chapter 18. And today we're going to be looking at verse number 13, and the title of our lesson is The Foolish Talker. Okay, so we're going to look at some different things here about being a fool and the way that he speaks. And so let's jump right into this, and we'll get through it today. Verse number 13 says this: He who gives an answer before he hears, it is folly and shame to him. He who gives an answer before he hears, it is folly and shame to him. Really, this is a pretty short proverb. There's, looking at the very first phrase here. He who gives an answer before he hears. I was kind of studying this out. Really, the words that are being used here are really simple, everyday, ordinary words. I mean, it literally says, he who turns back an answer. Turns back a word. He who gives an answer before he hears. Just really ordinary words. And, we could really kind of try to pick at some things here, and I really don't think that's going to be profitable for us. What I think we need to do is we just need to think about what the ordinary words are saying in this instance. So, he who gives an answer before he hears. Just want to bring some things out that I kind of thought about myself, and I want you to think about. And the first thing we're going to look at here is speaking too quickly. Okay, so what is Solomon saying here? He who gives an answer before he hears. There's really three things here that we need to talk about. The first one is this, is sometimes we speak without listening. Okay, and I think that this is really the heart of what this proverb is talking about. Even the word before can have the idea. Some people will say it kind of is implying the fact that a fool is interrupting a wise person and is not listening to what they should be listening to. They're kind of cutting him off and interrupting him just to say what they want to say. And so a person who gives an answer before he hears, someone who's interrupting someone else. And really, though, what I want to get at here is you need to listen to people before you speak. Okay, and really this is, I know that the emphasis here and the way it's written is definitely talking about our words and not speaking. But I think that this can even translate into the way that you act. Okay, not acting before you listen to someone else. Okay, and so sometimes giving an answer in life is not just verbally giving an answer, but you can give an answer by the way that you act or the way you respond to a situation. Or how you handle a certain circumstance. And so keep that in mind, because you'll hear me use phrases throughout that have to do with speaking or acting, just in the way that you act, that being the answer that you give. But, interrupting people, this is me, okay? I am, as a pastor, I am not above the truths of Scripture by any means. And for me, as I study these out, the wisdom of Proverbs impacts my life the same way, hopefully, that you're able to be impacted by it. And as I was looking at this, the Lord really spoke to me. Sometimes I interrupt people, and I do it a lot. And sometimes I don't even realize it, and some people have pointed it out to me before, my wife in particular, and so I'm very thankful for her ministry. Sometimes, though, I catch myself doing it, and it's an embarrassing thing. Because what is it? It's pride. Okay, I interrupt my kids when they speak. I interrupt my wife. I interrupt my friends. I've interrupted Pastor Mike when we're conversating before, and that's pride on my part. I'm not listening to what other people say before I want to interject what I think, and that's not a wise way to live. That's a foolish way to live. That's a prideful way to live. And so, those of you out there, if I've interrupted you in the past, I apologize. And so it's something that I'm working on in my life. And so, again, the book of Proverbs, it hits me right between the eyes, too. And hopefully, though, we'll be wise enough to see where the Scripture speaks into our life, and that we will be able to, with Lord's help, act differently, to speak differently, to be wise and not be foolish, to be humble and not be prideful. And I was reading one commentator. He says this. He says conversations often consist of two people talking and no one listening. And a lot of times that's kind of the way we're talking to someone and we hear what they say, and as soon as they say something, we're already thinking about what we're going to respond. We're not really listening to that person. And so speaking without listening is a foolish thing, okay? Because what does it do? The last part of the verse says it is a folly and a shame to him. So we don't want to speak without listening. We don't want to interrupt folks. We want to listen. And that kind of leads us to the second thing. And sometimes we speak too quickly, and we're speaking without thinking. Okay, we don't think before we speak, and we can open our mouths and embarrass ourselves sometimes, right? I read another quote, actually from the same man. His name is Peter Stevenson. You've heard me quote him before. I have this commentary here on my shelf. But he says, a man who speaks without first considering all sides of an issue is foolish and will likely be ashamed, and will likely come to shame. So if he speaks without considering all sides of an issue, that's foolish. And so sometimes we may get part of some information and we're quick to speak about those or give our opinion about something, but we don't really know the whole story. We haven't thought things through the right way and really thought about our answer, our response to a certain situation. We're speaking without thinking. He who gives an answer before he hears is folly and shame to him. I read a book last year about the raid that led up to the death of Osama bin Laden in 2011. And I was reading a book about this, and they put a lot of information up there. It was written by one of the members on the SEAL team that was part of that operation, and he went into a lot of detail about what the plan was going to be when the teams went in and to secure that compound and to find Osama bin Laden. And they practiced that plan, they knew that plan, and they thought through any and everything that they thought could happen that was not part of the plan. For instance, one of their helicopters, I think there were two of them that came in, one of them crashed right there in the front yard of the compound. So what do you do in that situation? They had thought through a lot of those things, and they knew what to do. They had really thought it through before they made a response to the situation they were about to go into. They really thought it through, okay? And they really knew their plan and they practiced it. So, when you're in situations or you're in a time in your life where you need to give an answer, a response, or you need to act, you need to be quick to think it through and slow to open your mouth about it, or quick to respond just too hastily. So we want to be careful about how we handle the things in our life and how much we open our mouth and how quickly we do that, okay? So that's kind of what we're talking about. He who gives an answer before he hears, it is folly and a shame to him. So sometimes we speak without listening. Sometimes we speak without thinking. And these two things lead us to the third thing, which is speaking without knowing. And this is just the epitome of the downfall here, is that you haven't listened, you haven't thought, and you don't know what you're talking about, and you start talking about something that you don't know about. And that brings folly and shame into your life. That is the result. So sometimes we speak without knowing. And, I was just talking about the Osama bin Laden raid. The people that put that plan together, they knew a lot about that compound. Okay, they had a lot of intelligence on that place. I mean, for our government to have not been inside that building and to know who was coming and who was going, I mean, they had eyes all over the place. And they were certain that Osama bin Laden was in that compound. And they didn't make a quick response to that. They knew he was there. They kept eyes on the place, and they put a plan together. There were times previously where they had thought he was somewhere and he wasn't there. They kind of looked like fools because they planned and he wasn't there. But they knew for sure this time that he was there, and they acted on that in the wisdom that they had, in the knowledge they had acquired of it. And so when you act, when you speak, you need to know as much as you can about the situation. Okay? Don't be quick to judge someone if you don't know the whole story. There are things going on all the time in society right now. Okay, the news is full of stories, and the news is full of one-sided stories. No matter what network you watch or what you look at on the internet, there's always two sides of the story. And have you rounded that out before you start speaking about it? Because you don't want to start speaking about something and then turn out to be looking foolish and shameful. Okay, so do you know the whole story? The commentator Peter Stevenson, he said this as well. He says, "How can you speak wisely without fully knowing the issue?" Now, we can speak about a lot of things, but if we want to be wise, we need to know as much as we can about the situation before we speak, before we act. Okay, so don't speak without listening. Okay, don't cut people off. Listen. Get as much information as you can. Why? So that you can think about it. So you don't speak without thinking. And then so you can know as much as you can know about it. And you're prepared to give a wise response, to make a wise decision, to act in a wise way. Okay? So that you don't bring folly and shame into your life. So we don't want to speak too quickly. Okay? Really is what the first part of this verse is talking about. The second part, though, we do want to look at some words here. We don't want to speak too quickly. Because number two, consequences come quickly. Okay? Look at the end of the verse. It says, "It is folly and it is shame to him." So let's talk about those two words, folly and shame. Folly is foolishness. Okay? It is stupidity. Sometimes silliness, like you're made to look silly and stupid is the idea there. And this is the byproduct of fools. When fools act, what is the result? Folly, foolishness, stupidity. When fools speak, what is the product? Folly, stupidity, silliness. And I try not to do this a whole lot in our study because I want to stay focused on the proverb that we're looking at, but I do want to go look at two other proverbs that kind of fill this out because I don't want this idea of folly just to kind of get lost in the lingo of being a fool and foolish. Okay? So let's look at two Proverbs. The first one is Proverbs chapter number 12, verse 23. And you'll see the second one up here too, is Proverbs 13, verse 16. The first one, 12:23, says, "A prudent man conceals knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly." So what does a fool speak about? What is he putting forth with his words, with his actions? He's putting forth foolishness. He's putting forth stupidity. Things that don't make sense, okay? Things that are not true. Things that are just dumb, foolish. And so they proclaim this with their words, okay? Look at the next verse there, the 16th verse of chapter 13, says that every prudent man acts with knowledge, but a fool displays folly. Again, this is the byproduct of what a fool has to offer. Okay? His words, his actions, his thoughts, what does it produce? Folly. So you do not want to live life this way. If you are a fool, then folly is coming. All right, that's what you're going to produce. Okay? You're not going to produce wisdom. You're going to produce folly and foolishness. Okay? Okay, so now then, so consequences, they come quickly. Folly comes, which is the byproduct of a fool. And then secondly, it says that shame comes. Okay, so shame is a word that means the root word kind of has the idea of a wound. Well, a cognate word, sorry, is it means to have a wound. And it's used really the idea of like a wounded spirit, wounded pride. Okay, this is, and this is really, I really like how this definition here is that it is disgrace from humiliation. You have been publicly humiliated, and now you feel disgraced. You feel embarrassed. So have you ever been humiliated publicly before? All right, that feeling is what this word shame is talking about. A fool, someone who speaks before he hears the situation and gives a foolish answer, what does he experience? Shame. He experiences a disgrace because he's been humiliated because his words are wrong. Okay? He speaks as though he is right, but he's actually wrong. And the proof is in the pudding, right? his words prove him to be wrong and to be a fool. So he's humiliated. We went to Haiti, and a couple of the Haitian kids there, they showed us a game. It's called Haitian Tic-Tac-Toe, and here's a picture of the board, all right? Some of you guys will be familiar with this. They actually draw these lines out on the dirt, and they get light-colored stones and dark-colored stones, and they play it's not tic-tac-toe, but it's a version of that. They're trying to get 3 in a row, and they have to go through the center of the board. Well, without going into the detail, I mean, it's a really simple game. Actually, right here, I got these on my shelf, and I kind of forgot about these actually. I got them all right here. I'll show them to you. I keep them up here just as a little decoration, a little reminder. But I got these from Haiti, and so I've got 3 light-colored rocks that I got from the ground out there, and I've got 3 dark-colored rocks. And so I thought it was pretty cool. I tried to find something kind of similar in size and similar shape, that kind of thing. And so now I just need a board, But usually they draw it out on the dirt, and they play this game. And I thought that I saw some kids playing. I thought this is super simple game. All right, they kind of showed me how to play a little bit. I was watching just a little bit, hadn't played yet. And then our teenagers that were there on the mission trip, they said, "Hey, you need to play this kid right here. He's really good, a Haitian guy." And thankfully, I did not say too much. Okay, but I did say, I'm going to take this guy down. I mean, I'm going to beat him, okay? I'm playing a younger teenager. He's not like an 18-year-old. He's younger. And it's like tic-tac-toe. I mean, come on. This kid demolishes me in Haitian tic-tac-toe. It's not tic-tac-toe. And he showed me real quick that I had spoken way too soon. And so I experienced on a very small scale some public humiliation because I had said and kind of put forth the persona and said some things that, hey, I'm going to beat this guy first time, no problem. And I got humiliated real quick. So since then I had to learn how to play, so I was a little bit better. But that's shame. Okay, what is that? That is speaking too quickly, and that is consequences coming my way very quickly. Okay, so folly and shame, they come our way if we speak before we hear, before we know what's going on in the matter. And so, thirdly here and lastly, we just I want to try to apply it a little bit more specifically. I mean, the application is pretty obvious. Okay, don't speak too soon in your life. Don't act and react too soon and hastily in your life. But I want to try to apply just a little bit more specifically than that. So number 3 here is that knowledge comes slowly. Okay, we don't want to speak too quickly because consequences come quickly. All right, when you speak and you're shown to be wrong and foolish, there's folly and shame there. Okay, and depending on the topic that you're speaking about or the decision that you're making, it may be just a little bit of shame, like playing Haitian tic-tac-toe, or you may suffer a lot of humiliation and shame. You may suffer the consequences of folly and foolishness to a greater degree that could really impact your reputation for a very long time. And so depending on what is going on here, this proverb can bring some real truth into your life. So, but knowledge, on the other hand, it comes slowly. Okay, so let's not be too quick to speak. We don't want to face those consequences. We need to slow down a little bit. So the first thing is this: don't interrupt other people. Okay, and again, I think that's kind of the heart of what this is talking about. Is don't cut off a wise person from speaking. You need to listen to them. But even if you don't think that they're wise, sometimes you still need to listen to them. For one, it's rude not to interrupt people, but again, it's a prideful thing. Okay, I mean, an 8-year-old can speak wisdom into my life if I will listen to them. Right? I need to not interrupt people. You need to not interrupt people. We need to listen to them. Okay, what does that do? That at least, even if we're listening to someone that we may not agree with, or even if we're listening to something that is a little bit off, maybe, at least if you don't cut them off and you just hear them out, that's going to give you an opportunity to see the whole picture of what they're thinking. And it's going to give you time to not, you can take time and think about what's a wise answer. And so don't interrupt people. That one's real simple, and real specific. And secondly, which is right along with that, is think thoroughly before answering or before acting. Really think it through, right? Like the guys planning the raid on the Osama bin Laden compound. They really thought things through before they acted. You need to think things through in your life. We looked at Proverbs 12:23 a second ago. I didn't say anything about the first part of that verse, but look at the first part of this verse. A prudent man conceals knowledge. That is someone who has wisdom, who conceals it. He's not always just throwing it out and being a know-it-all, because nobody likes a know-it-all, okay? So there's that aspect of it, but they're also someone who conceals it for the proper time. Sometimes you just need to, if you have the right response, there's a certain time, a certain place, and even certain people to say that to. There's sometimes where people won't listen to reason. And sometimes you're wasting your breath to give that, right? You got to be discerning. A prudent person, what do? They conceal wisdom until the right time to bring it out. So think thoroughly before answering, okay? Or before acting. All right, thirdly, if you don't know, say so. Okay, that is the problem with the fool, is that they speak these just grandiose things, and they're speaking about things that they don't really know, or they don't have all the information. If you don't know, you need to say that you don't know. There's no harm in that. Okay, now let me stop and kind of sidebar here just for a second. Do not use "well, I don't know" as an excuse not to give an answer. Okay, sometimes people will ask you things, particularly people in authority over you, like your teachers or your parents or whatever. And I've done it before. I've heard teenagers do it before. They just, well, I don't know. That's not an appropriate answer. Okay, it's one thing for you to be slow to give an answer about something. It's another thing for you to say, well, I don't know about why something happened. If someone asks you a question, or someone is asking a response from you, and you legitimately do not know, you need to know why you don't know. Well, I don't know because I don't know this, or I haven't heard this person's side of the story yet. Somebody asked me the other day what I thought about some things going on in society, and at that particular time, I said, hey, I don't want to rush to give an answer about what I think, because I don't know what I think, because I haven't seen or I haven't heard the whole story yet. So let me get that information and then we can talk about it. So I didn't know the answer, but I knew why I didn't know the answer. Does that make sense? So don't just say, well, I don't know. It's just an excuse not to answer people. Okay? And that is going to lead us to the fourth one. All right? Once you know, say so, okay? Once you know the answer, once you've had time, and once you have the facts to make a wise decision, to give a wise response, then you need to do so, okay? Don't just sit back, not give an answer, when you had a perfectly good, wise answer for something. We also looked at Proverbs 13:16 a while ago. Let's look back at that verse. The very first part of it says this: every prudent man acts with knowledge. You need to be someone who, once you have wisdom, you need to act on that. You need to speak on that. And so don't cower, in the corner somewhere, and don't say anything when you have a really good response that needs to be said. Sometimes you may have insight on a certain situation that other people haven't thought about. Maybe you know certain things about a situation that other people don't know about the situation. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that go on with relationships and friends and family. Sometimes, hey, if you do need to speak up. You don't need to be fearful. You need to act on the wisdom that you've gained. You've taken time to listen. You've taken time to think things through. And you've taken time to know the situation. So you need to act on that. You need to speak on that. Our proverb says, he who gives an answer before he hears, it brings folly and shame. But once you've heard, then the assumption is that you're going to give an answer. And so don't cower in this life. We need to be bold, and we need to say what we think. We need to say what we believe once we've taken time to make sure that is the wisest thing that we can say. That's to the best of my ability. the best of my knowledge, here's what I think. And we need to speak up, and we need to not be fearful to do that. And so, hey, we don't want to be fools. Okay, we don't want to speak. We don't want to speak too quickly. We don't want to bring those consequences of folly and shame into our life because of the way we speak. But hey, we want to take our time, and we want to get our heads wrapped around knowledge and wisdom, and then we want to act on that. Okay, and so up to this point, this chapter has talked a lot about a fool's speech, and it implies things about a wise person's speech. So hey, let's not be fools. Let's be wise. Let's please the Lord. And hey, let's speak wisely. Let's hear what's going on and make a wise decision. So hey, don't be a fool. I'll see you next time.